What is up, everybody? This is Ant, and you are checking out the Uncensored Pro Wrestling Podcast. Today, we are covering our Broken Skull Sessions series recap. Today, on the Broken Skull Sessions, is the Viper Randy Orton. All right, welcome back. Yes, today we are going to be talking about Randy Orton, the Viper. And Orton starts off the interview saying that he didn't think that Stone Cold really liked him at first. And it's the first time that Stone Cold and Randy Orton have been able to sit and talk and cut it up, as he says. Randy's happy with his life. He's so blessed to be part of WWE, and he tries to be a good performer. Randy thinks that the work that he's doing right now is the best he's ever done. He's had more televised matches than anyone in WWE. His promos he felt were always mediocre before. Michael Hayes says Hall of Famers are great on the mic, and he didn't want to hear he wasn't good on the mic. So Randy kind of pushed that away. Randy always thought he was good on the mic, but then realized that he wasn't great. He realized a year ago how important promos were. And Randy says, what you say on the mic could be more important than the actual wrestling. And Randy tries his best to really feel what he is doing in the ring and mean what he says. We get a promo of him shitting on Mark Henry in 2020, and he appreciates Mark Henry for allowing him to do that. Growing up, Randy wasn't a wrestling fan. He just looked at his dad working. By high school, he became a fan. And early on, it was just his dad did what his dad did for work, and guys would ask him if he would do wrestling, and he wasn't confident enough to do what his dad did, so he always replied no. Randy then would go on and join the Marines, and he got dishonorably discharged because he did not follow a command, and he had to leave. People loved his dad, and Randy met with Dr. Tom Pritchard, and he got signed to Ohio Valley Wrestling, OVW. And when he goes to this house, everyone's there, including Batista, Brock Lesnar, John Cena, Shelton Benjamin. And Randy felt that he was handed this and knew he had to fight for this. He wanted to prove that he deserved this spot and that it wasn't just because he was Cowboy Bob's son. Brock remembers saying to Randy while he was driving, can you believe we get paid for this? So at the time, they thought that it was great and that didn't even want to get paid. They were having so much fun. And then he got called up to the main roster, and Ric Flair, Triple H taught him little things like, holding tight moves, making moves look a certain way. And Randy believes that Ric Flair is one of the greatest of all times. We see Randy's match against The Undertaker on March 30th, 2002 on SmackDown. He was 22 years old when this match took place, and Randy claims he was blessed to fight The Undertaker and that The Undertaker saw something in Randy, and he gave Randy so much offensive in that move. Vince then went back when Undertaker and Randy went backstage. Vince gave Undertaker shit for taking so many bumps for Randy. But Undertaker told Vince, this is full circle. We have to put others over because eventually they will be on the top. When SmackDown was taped, all of Randy's offensive moves that were cut out, and basically it looked like Randy was the power. I'm sorry, Undertaker was the powerhouse. Then Evolution started, and Randy was practicing selling moves in the ring, and Triple H noticed him, and Triple H wanted Orton to join Evolution. And Randy didn't understand the scope of it at the time, and he claims that Ric Flair was like his road dad. Triple H always wanted to talk the business, whereas Ric Flair always wanted to have fun. Randy believes that right now he takes care of his family. That's his priority. It means a lot to him to help his dad out, who at the time when he was wrestling, he didn't get to have all these social media interactions, all the merchandise. So Randy wants to make sure that he takes care of his father. Randy got a little heat from the guys for being picked to join Evolution at first. They all would, laugh and just, giggle and were upset they weren't in that spot. John Laurinaitis told Randy Orton to perform an Ace Crusher, and they wanted to find a new name for it. So Randy's like RKO, Randy Keith Orton, and Vince liked it, and the Ace Crusher became the RKO. And then we see him giving Evan Bourne an RKO after Evan tries to hit a shooting star press, and he really liked that way that happened. Randy loved Undertaker's Broken Skull Session episode, and he watched that one the most out of all of them. Randy then talks about Mick Foley, and they look back at the Backlash 2004 match Randy had with Cactus Jack. Fans were really into it, and Randy said he needed this brutal match type to sort of help him get over more. At 24 years old, he became the champion, and he'll never forget sitting alone after everyone left backstage and just thinking about winning the title and just sitting there, can't really believing that it's true. Randy wasn't ready when he first became champion. They wanted Randy to be a baby face, and he thought he needed to change everything to become a baby face, which was not correct. Randy went from taking dumb tacks to the back to smiling in the ring. Then talk about the WrestleMania 21 match against The Undertaker. He wishes he could have a do-over with that match. He slept through Undertaker's rehearsals in the morning, and he disappointed so many people. And that same night, Randy had inducted his dad, and he just felt like he did a terrible job with the induction. He felt bad for skipping the rehearsal, and he was surprised he wasn't fired. He then competed at WrestleMania 22 a year later. He got suspended for 4 days after 4 days after WrestleMania for 60 days. During that time, he got help in his funk, but it wasn't until John Cena in 2007 that helped him get over that funk. And then he joined Rated-RKO with Edge. Edge and Randy bonded, and Edge was like a big brother, and he thanks Edge for picking up where Randy left off during that time, because during that time he wasn't in the great mindset. In summer 2008, he got into a motorcycle accident and re-broke his clavicle bone, which messed him up big time. Randy believes he's a pro wrestler and that he doesn't want to do anything else. So when he does get injured, it does hurt his spirit. He believes that 2009, 2011, and 2020 were his best years. And he talks about his match at SummerSlam 2011 with Christian. And he says that Christian is a great mind in the ring. He could execute Christian's ideas, but Christian is so smart. At this point, Randy was hybrid. He was good and bad. So it was a weird moment for him to be in that 2011 match at SummerSlam. They then move on to talk about John Cena. And Cena's a hustler. He taught Randy to listen to the crowd. And he also believes that Cena is one of the smartest men he knows. Then talk about his TLC 2013 match with John Cena. And camera time is important. Randy likes to look down at the title. He thinks it's important to know when the spotlight and camera is on you, so every detail is important and intricate. And then talk about 2020 when Edge returned to the Royal Rumble. Edge was gone for 10 years, and he came back, and the fans loved it. We then see Randy's promo on March 2nd, 2020 on Beth Phoenix, who is Edge's wife. Randy told Vince about his promo and just, his interaction with Edge 19 years ago when he met Edge, and Edge pretty much just said, good luck, kid, you got this. And he talks about how he gave Edge a concerto, and he tells Beth that he did it for Beth and his daughters. Beth is great. The fans were clapping during this moment. And after Vince shook his hand and said, that was your Oscar moment. So that promo that Randy had on March 2nd, 2020 with Beth Phoenix was probably one of Randy's best promos that he gave. It made Randy Orton feel great that Vince acknowledged him. And then they talk about WrestleMania 2020, the last man standing match with no crowd. It didn't feel like WrestleMania to him. They had a roadmap on what they were going to do, and they did it. They had a match, and he pities the people that had to work in the ring with no noise, because he felt like that was harder, because during the last man standing match, the two of them were backstage and in all different areas of the arena. Edge and Randy didn't want to pipe in the crowd noise. He remembers when they had their greatest wrestling match ever at Backlash, which he feels like it was hard to call it that. It was one of his favorite matches, and they did everything they could to give it their best. And then Randy talks about Drew McIntyre. He didn't want to work with Drew McIntyre at first, but he grew to love Drew. It took a couple of months for him to actually grow to like Drew McIntyre, but he really does. We see a promo between Randy and Drew on Raw, where Randy tells Drew that he was fired, and even though Drew was fired, Randy is more valuable to this company than Drew ever would be. We then see their Hell in a Cell match, and they watch the match over, and Randy calls Drew a student of the game, And during that Hell in a Cell match, Randy won his 14th world title shot that night. And being 14-time world champion means a lot to him. Ric Flair, John Cena, he's tied with Triple H at 14. Ric Flair and Cena have 16 or 17, I think. And Randy had a period where he was going through the motions. He has a newfound respect for the business. He's enjoying the fruits of his dad's labor. He wants to give back. And he remembers that Drew told Randy that Randy did more for him than anyone else in this business. And Randy ends the conversation by saying he's having a lot of fun. He helps his entire career. He was helped his entire career, and now he wants to give out back and help the other young guys. So this is a great interview by Randy Orton. We learned a lot more about him, a bit on the inside thoughts on his mind and how his life was, how it worked. Definitely check this out. It was a good episode. You learn a lot more about Orton. Now, at the end of August, we have some time here. Our next episode of the Broken Skull Sessions recap is going to drop, and that will be on Y2J Chris Jericho. That'll be dropping at the end of August, so definitely be on the lookout for that. I appreciate you guys checking us out. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe, like, hit the notification bell on YouTube to stay notified when new content is created. Also, make sure you follow us on Spotify, Anchor, Apple Music, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, wherever podcasts are available and streaming. Like us and give us a 5-star rating. All right, that is it for this episode of the Broken Skull series sessions recap. Thank you for checking us out. Stay safe, and I'll talk to y'all soon.